Okay, it's looking good. Let's get started. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Welcome. My name's David, Head of Support at GovernorHub, and I've got Leonie and Jade with me from the support team today, who you may see on the call as well. They'll be here manning the chat and the Q&A. So if anything does occur to you as we go through today's session, please drop it in the Q&A or the chat. We'll do our best to reply to those. Obviously, if you've got queries specific to your school account or your account, that would probably be best emailed over to us on the help desk. Right. Yes, good. I think we've leveled out in terms of attendees for today. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today's smaller training session is around compliance or declarations and confirmations on GovernorHub, how we use the site to make sure your governors and trustees and members are able to declare their interests and confirm anything that you need them to confirm on the site. So we're going to be looking at this from both sides, from how do governors do this on the site, but also if you're an administrator, if you're responsible for that, a governance professional or a clerk perhaps, how do you set those up on the board, and how do you make sure you know who's done these things and who you need to chase up. So hopefully you'll be able to all see the screen here. We're going to go through signing these off, setting up custom confirmations, getting reports back from the system to show you who's done them, and if you're working in a multi-academy trust, how you can do this across multiple accounts, trust-wide accounts. Right. Before we start, I'll just let you know that the session is being recorded, so if you do need to drop off at any point, that's not a problem. We will send the video recording out after the session. And I'd like to flag up a couple more training dates for you. We've got a session based around meetings. How do we manage meetings on GovernorHub? And that's going to be on Thursday, the 14th of March. And we've also got a quick demonstration of GovernorHub knowledge on Friday the 15th. So do tune into those if you're able to. You can sign up directly on the help page. So you can see the address on the screen there, help.governorhub.com, and you should be able to find the training dates and links to sign up on that page. All right, let's get started then. So today we're talking about declarations and confirmations, the things that governors need to agree to and sign off to make sure that your governing board or governing body is compliant. And you'll have a variety of things that you need people to sign off throughout the year. So GovernorHub can take care of these for you and enable governors to find these in one place so it's nice and easy, and also let your administrators know exactly who's done this. Okay, so we're going to look at it first from a governor's perspective, and hopefully the page in front of you looks familiar. If you're looking at GovernorHub, you've logged in, you'll be on the Governor News page. Now, lots of you will be familiar with clicking through to a school account, just as I've done here. I've clicked through to our demo account, Barn Owl School, and you'll see the usual areas: notice board, calendar, documents, governing board, and so on. But we're not looking there. What we're looking for is declarations and confirmations, and these are attached to you as a governor or as an individual using the system. So, in fact, you're not going to find this under a tab labeled declarations and confirmations specifically. If you're going to sign these off in GovernorHub itself, these are going to be found on your profile page. So if you can look at the top right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see my name. And obviously when you sign into your account, you're going to see your name at the top right here. And clicking on your name at the top right will give you a couple of options to view your profile page or to log out of the site. So we're going to click through to the profile page. And as well as the usual, sort of personal details, contact details, and that sort of thing, in this area, this is my profile area, rather than a school account or a trust account. You'll notice the next tab along here is actually what we're looking for. It's compliance. And this is my area to say that, these are the things that I need to check off to be compliant for my governing body. So I'm going to click through to this tab. And you will see here, we have a couple of options. We have a declaration of interests section, and we have some confirmations. Now I've got quite a few because lucky me, I'm a member of quite a few accounts. Hopefully, if you're just working across one school, working in one school, you'll just have one school area. So this is where we're looking to find our declarations and confirmations to sign them off. So for your governors, if you're an administrator, you can direct them to this area to make their declarations and confirmations. So I'll just recap that again. How do we get there? If governors sign in, direct them to their name at the top right-hand side of the screen, click on the profile page. That takes them to their profile rather than the school account. And clicking on the compliance tab is where the things they need to sign off are located. So why don't we start with the declaration of interests section. What is an interest? We get this question a lot actually on the help desk. It's really anything that needs to be declared where there is potentially a conflict of interest. Doesn't mean there is one, but it's a potential area of conflict of interests. So I'll give you an example. You might own a local business, a carpeting firm, and at some point the school reaches out to the firm to get a quote for recarpeting one of the classrooms. Now, as someone with an interest in that company and as a governor at the school, that is a potential source of conflict of interest, isn't it? So it would be best to declare that in the area here. Okay. Likewise, things like if you're working on another governing board or perhaps have a spouse or relative in the school, that sort of thing, you'll be able to find more information on that on GovernorHub Knowledge or from your local authority or your school clerk may have some guidelines for you to follow on exactly what is needing to be declared. But as a guideline, if you think there's a potential conflict of interest, it's best to record it. It is a general rule of thumb. Okay, so at the moment, we're looking at the declaration section here, and I have no interests declared, and you can see that from here. There is nothing actually recorded in this system at the moment for me as an individual governor. And you can see that I've not confirmed. Now, there's a distinction here between having no interest and not actually declaring that yet. So the first things first is no interest declared is the default setting. If you don't type anything into this section, basically you're saying, no, I can't think of anything that could cause a conflict of interest in my role as a governor or trustee. So I'm not going to put anything in that section. And that's perfectly valid. You may well have absolutely no conflict of interests. That's very, very common. So if that's the case, you don't really need to type anything in here. Once you've had to think through, any scenarios that you can think of that may conflict with your role as a governor, if you're happy, then go ahead and click confirm, and that's all you need to do. So that is now confirmed for me that I have nothing to declare. Okay, no interest declared, confirmed, and you can see the date on the screen there. And if I hover my mouse over it, it will tell you that's confirmed on that date by myself. Okay. Now, that may be well and good at the start of the year. We know situations change throughout the year. You may want to revisit this later in the year and change that. So it may be the case that you need to unconfirm that. And by using the unconfirm button that was there, you can undo that confirmation and type something else in. So I'll just show you that again because it comes and goes fairly quickly. So if I've confirmed that I've got no declarations to make, I can use the red unconfirm button and that will basically take that off the system again. Or it might be the case that I've rolled around till the next academic year and I've come back to this in sort of September, and actually it's still the case that I've got nothing to declare on the system, in which case I can use the reconfirm button and that will just update the date. It won't make any other changes to this section here, but it will update the date on which you've confirmed you have no interests. So you have a reconfirm option and an unconfirm option. Okay, I'm going to take that off here. How do you add an interest? And this is something you may need to do. So if you are confident that you potentially have a conflict and you think, this is best something to record on the system, let's go ahead and do that. And you can see clicking the add interest button gives you a new pop-up. So you can say here a type of interest. So it could be another governance role, could be a personal or close family relationship, or it could be some business or finance interests. Excuse me. Now, let's take my example from earlier. We're going to take the business interests. So local carpets, that's my firm, limited. Owner of business. So I think potentially, I'm the local owner of a business. If the school came to me for a quote, that could put my position as governor into question. So I'm going to say, right, well, actually, since the start of the year, when I became a governor, that's what it needs to be. And I'm going to run this up until the end of the year. Obviously, if you've got a term date of 3 or 4 years, as is quite usual, you may want to pop the whole term in there for you. Now, so you can see what I've done. I've put the type of interest from the list there. I've added some details about what that means. I've indicated that the terms when this is applicable. And you'll see, as I mentioned, I'm quite a lucky man. I'm quite a member of a lot of different accounts on GovernorHub. So this may not be applicable to all your accounts. If you're someone working across multiple accounts in a trust, this may be applicable to some and not others. So I can simply add or remove my accounts from here. Okay, I'm actually going to take a few of these out. So I'm going to say these are applicable to these 3 accounts that I'm a member of. Okay, and essentially, as soon as I click add, it's going to be recorded on Barn Owl School, Birds Academy Trust, and the Nest Academy. This declaration that I'm making is going to be added to the records for those governing bodies. And you will see we've now updated the register of interests. There's my interest sitting in there, all that information that I put in and which accounts it's applicable to. But you'll notice it's still showing as red. Even though I've added the information to GovernorHub at this point, I still haven't made that confirmation. I haven't declared my interest. I've entered the information, but I've not actually done the declaration itself. So once that is comfortably in place, you may wish to confirm like that. And again, that just updates with the date. So now you can see the whole information that we've put in and the date on which I have made this declaration. And the options that we had before are still applicable. I can reconfirm later in the year and update the date, or I can unconfirm that at some point and make an amendment to it. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Now we'll come back to downloading and checking on this sort of thing later on in the session. But we're going to move down the page here. And once you've done your declarations, usually at the start of the academic year, there may well be some other matters that you need to attend to and sign off. Now, I wanted to explain this next one because this is like the declarations box that we've just been through. This is present on every single account on GovernorHub. As you will know, safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. It's the responsibility of the entire governing body. And so it's really, really vital that governors, trustees, anyone involved in governance needs to be absolutely on the ball in terms of their safeguarding responsibilities. And every year, it's great practice to confirm that you've reread or read for the first time Keeping Children Safe in Education, particularly when there's an update released for this. So this box, underneath the declarations, which you'll find on your own personal account, you will always find a Keeping Children Safe in Education box as well. And you will see here what we've done is we've provided a little bit of blurb for that. Now, we would recommend that all governors read the whole document. Obviously, it's quite a weighty thing if you've clicked through and had a look at it. And I believe there's certain sections that are particularly applicable and statutory in that sense. But as we said, it's everyone's responsibility. So it's really good practice to read the whole thing. And this link here is always to the latest version. Okay, so if I click through from here, you will see it takes us straight to the DFE page, and we've got the very latest version, and we've got all the parts here. So we've got part 1 and all the rest of it that is recommended and needed to read. So you can click through, get to those documents easily, click through and read the necessary, and then click back into GovernorHub and say, yes, in fact, I have done that, and I am taking that responsibility seriously. So those 2 boxes are present on every single GovernorHub account. Everyone needs to make declaration of interests, even if there's nothing to declare, and everyone needs to confirm that they've read Keeping Children Safe in Education, and the link to the latest guidance is there. Whenever we receive an update, whenever that's released, obviously we will update that link, and that will stay absolutely current. So if there is guidance released later in the year, then you can click through again, read the update, and then reconfirm from the new date. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So we're on our profile page, how we've got there from the top right of the screen. We're on the compliance tab. We've dealt with our declarations, and we've dealt with keeping children safe in education. Now, your page at this point may look different depending on which accounts you're a member of, because as we scroll down past the declarations and keeping children safe, there's space under here for any custom confirmations that your schools or trusts need you to sign off. So it may be the case that they don't have anything. Actually, that's the end of the page for you. You've got declarations and keeping children safe, and there's nothing under that because the school hasn't asked you to sign anything else off. But if there is, it will appear in this section. And as I said, a lot of accounts here. So you can see I've got quite a lot of confirmations to make here as well. And these confirmations are, they're not the same as your declarations, which are absolutely vital every year. And need to be reconfirmed and that sort of thing. Same as your safeguarding. These confirmations are additional things that your governing board or trust would like you to sign off and agree to and indicate that you've read. So there may be things here, and you can see under Barnell School, I have a code of conduct, a governor's code of conduct that I can read. I can link to the document. I can click through and read that document. And then once I'm happy with that, I can do the confirmation from there again in the same way. And all that information is now showing as confirmed. So if you're like me and you're lucky enough to be a member of multiple accounts, you may wish to scroll right down the page and obviously confirm all of your confirmations in one go. Okay, so that's it from a governor's perspective. At the start of the year, whenever you're directed to, log into GovernorHub, get to your profile page, click on the compliance tab, get that information in for declarations of interests, make sure you've read your safeguarding information, and then have a look for any other school or trust confirmations that may be included for you. And once you've done that, that's your part complete, and that's happy days for everyone. Okay. That's how you sign things off on GovernorHub. That's how the system deals with making declarations and confirmations from a governor's side. And certainly that's what I do. That's what I've done in the past on governing boards I've been part of. So let's flip this around. Let's have a look from the other side. If you're a clerk or governance professional, someone on the board with responsibility for safeguarding, and you need to know who's done what and who's signed what, how do we look at this in a school or trust setting? So the first thing we'll do is we'll head back into a school account, which you can see here. So we've come out of that profile area, which is specific to me or specific to you when you log in. And we're back to the usual and familiar school setup, notice board and calendar and so on. Now, if we head to the governing board tab, you will see the members list as usual. But over on the right-hand side here is a kind of paired tab to the compliance tab that we had in the profile, and it's now here for the governing board. So you can see here that this is because it's on the school account or on the trust account rather than your individual profile. What we're talking about here in this compliance tab is not your individual compliance. This is across the organisation that you're working in. Okay, so if I head to that governing board tab, click on the compliance tab, and you can see here we've got the same sorts of things popping up as we had in my profile page. Declarations of interest, keeping children safe, any confirmations. But this looks slightly different. So if I click, let's deal with the declarations first, as it's the top one. We've said governors need to make declarations of interest, even if there's nothing to declare. So when we click on this declarations of interest button, which is in the governing board compliance tab, we get a slightly different picture because we're not looking at my specific declarations here. What we've got now is an overview of who is on this account and who's done this function, who's done these declarations. So you can see here, if I scroll down the list, you will see, goodness me, this is looking good. We're all compliant because everyone listed on this account has done their declarations of interest. And you can see here the dates, and that this is indicated in green. And I'll show you hopefully a couple more examples later on where maybe there's a person that's not done them for a while, so it's showing as slightly out of date, or there might be someone on your board who's not done this yet at all. And we can have a look at those later. But if they've done them, when you click on this area, you get an overview of who's completed these and on which date. And if you need a little bit more info, you can click on here. And so you're, as an admin, as an administrator, as someone who's checking to see what's been done, you can have a look and see, right, yes, we've got these declarations in place from here. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. And of course, this is an overview. So we can do the same thing for keeping children safe. And here's a good example, because you can see lots of our governors here have done this, and it's all up to date and current. However, I can see 2 members of this account have not done this year. You can see they actually have made a confirmation for keeping children safe in education on the system, but it's not been updated this academic year. You can see here the demo account here has been done in August, and Sarah Smith here hasn't touched this since last June. So this is showing up, this is flagged up on the system as, well, yes, they probably need to revisit this, in fact, so you can give them a nudge. Now, one of the features that we've built in recently to this overview is this handy little button down here, which is send a reminder. Wouldn't it be nice if you know that most of the people on this board have in fact done this task, but there's a couple of people that might need a little nudge just to say, come on, let's get signed in and get this done. So why don't we use the send reminder button? And this is going to pop an email notification on our notice board page for this school, and it's going to ping out to the following people that haven't confirmed this year. Okay, and it's just a little sort of standard blurb here, just a friendly nudge. So why don't we go ahead and share that? And that is now pinging its way to the notice board and via email to these 2 people. So if we head over to the notice board area, you will see a brand new post a few seconds ago. And if you hover over the mouse, hover the mouse over that, it will tell you exactly when that's been sent out just now. And you can see it's exactly the message that we had a moment ago, a little friendly nudge. And it's been sent out to the 2 people on the account that needed to update that particular thing. So that's a nice, neat way of, if you do have responsibility for this, and you are an administrator and that sort of thing, then you can click through and have a quick look. And if you've got the admin rights, you can ping out a reminder to those people. And the same thing is true of all of these. Now, as you can see, this is the code of conduct example I was using earlier, where my school has specifically said, oh, we need you to sign this off. And you can see a few of us have done this, but there are quite a few people on this account that haven't done that. So if I click the send reminder button here, this would ping that out on the notice board again, but it would ping out via email to those 5 particular members on the account. Okay, hopefully that is helpful. And obviously, again, if you're working across multiple schools, you will have multiple boxes there. If you're just working in one school, you may or may not have something there for that school. Okay. Now, in terms of getting the overview, obviously you can click through and it's a nice visual record, you know, the green, the amber and the red. If you'd like this in a download form, you can then download that from here. So click that button. In fact, I think I downloaded it earlier. Bear with me. It's on the other page. So I'm just going to bring it over and you will find this lovely compliance report, basically summarizing all of that information. So rather than having the red, amber, green and being able to send the emails out from there, you can see we've got a report showing exactly what's happened and who's signed it off. And of course, any gaps there need to be filled in as people do comply with that. So if you do need a top level overview at a glance, we recommend downloading that report from here on the compliance tab itself. I will just mention that's also available on the downloads tab. So you may be familiar with this already if you've spent some time on GovernorHub. If you head to the About tab and then the Downloads tab beneath, you'll know we provide a whole host of reports which are quite useful, everything from a member's report to training records and so on. And you will see here in the records and checks, we have that compliance check report. That's available there. That's the same one as is on the compliance tab itself, but if you're browsing around on the downloads tab, you can get to it there. So you flip in between the tabs. Okay. Fabulous. All right. I'm just going to pause there and check my list, make sure I've covered everything so far. Yes, excellent. Okay. So I think the thing we need to talk about next is how your administrators set this up. As I've said, declarations of interest and keeping children safe in education are available for everyone by default. There's no option there. That's on the system. However, these other things, these custom confirmations here, are specific to your school or trust. And so they may appear for you if they need, if the trust or school needs something signed off. If not, it won't be there. But if you're an administrator, how do you do that? How do you set this up for your members to sign off? So the answer to that is here on the compliance tab. Underneath the download button is the edit confirmations button. Now, again, this is only for people with admin rights on the account. If you click that edit governing board confirmations button, you will see that code of conduct that we have there. That's been set up previously, and that's appearing in governors' profiles now, and it's appearing in the reports and everything on like that. It's appearing on the compliance tab and the compliance download. Let's say you've got something else to set up. Let's say Barn Owl School has implemented a new ICT policy for governors. So might be handy to ask them to sign that off at the start of the year. So I agree to abide by the new ICT policy. Okay, a bit vague, but we'll put that in there. ICT policy is here. So I'll just talk you through this, because what we're doing here is we're creating a custom confirmation. So administrators, you can set this up for your governors to sign off if needed. It might be a code of conduct, it might be an induction handbook, might be an ICT policy, whatever it happens to be. Now, we've got an actual confirmation statement here, and we've got some wording underneath. I think it's important to note, if you are an administrator and you're setting up a new confirmation, it's important to get this bit right, this confirmation statement. The reason for that is once it's set and it's live, it can't be edited. Hopefully that the reasoning is obvious there. If you set something up and loads of people agree to it, and then you can change the wording to make it look like something they've agreed to something that they didn't agree to in the first place. So hopefully, that's there needs to be a little bit of common sense around that. Once you've got a confirmation statement, the actual confirmation statement here cannot be amended. If it does need to be amended, you will need to delete it, bin it off, and then put a new one in place. Okay, it's not possible to amend a confirmation, but it is possible to remove it and replace it with something more appropriate. However, you can update the wording in the bottom box here. So if you've got in fact, let's take the word new, because it may not be new this time next year. That's a better statement. And you could say, right, the ICT policy is here, and then you can link, of course, through to your GovernorHub documents. Let's go with something from there. That's fine. We'll pick item 4. Very good. So you'll see we've now got our confirmation statement. We've now got our little wording and a link to the actual policy itself. And if we save that, that's going to appear for your governors to sign off in their profile. It's going to be added to that compliance report, and it's going to be on that compliance tab where you get the overview for people. This bit is not editable, as I've said, but this bit is editable. So let's say this is updated for next year. You may wish to come back and update that particular document, but the wording here would still be exactly the same. So for that reason, it may be best not to include years in the actual statement. You might not say, I agree to abide by the 2024 ICT policy, because if it rolls around to next year, you won't be able to change that bit, but you can update the bottom bit. Okay, let's pop that on there. So now we've got 2 confirmations for Barn Owl School. We've got the Code of Conduct and the ICT policy, and that is looking very good. And you'll see they're appearing in the compliance tab. And with a bit of luck, if I head to my compliance tab in my profile, give it a little refresh. Yes, there it is. So, as we saw earlier, from my profile page, compliance tab, there's the code of conduct that I signed off earlier, and there's the new ICT policy that I haven't actually signed off yet. You'll see it's not confirmed, so I'm going to do that while I'm here as well. All right, let's pause there. We've talked about how governors sign things off. We've talked about how administrators can set up custom things in addition to declarations and keeping children safe. And we've talked about how to get some of that information back off the system from the compliance download and from the About tab, the Downloads tab there. Let's just think before we wrap things up about working in a bigger context. If you're working as part of a multi-academy trust, this is very nice, this is very helpful. But if you've got something applicable to 30 different schools, you don't necessarily want to be adding the same confirmation to 30 different accounts. It'll be time consuming, it would be a laborious job. So we've added some features in GovernorHub recently to enable this for trusts as well. Now, if you're in a trust on GovernorHub, you may well know that in addition to your schools and trust board, you may well have an area, an icon on GovernorHub, which is your trust resources, which is a central point that all the schools in the trust can access. It's a central access account. And you will see here, this is our demo one, Birds Academy's Trust Resources, where the trust can post news and training and any resources for their members to share. We've added a couple of new tabs here recently, and you'll see them here, interests and confirmations. Okay, so if we're working at a trust level, how do we see these things? Rather than going into every school account individually, which is still possible, you might want to take a higher level overview of what's happening across the organisation. So head to your trust resources icon, and you will be able to see the interests and confirmations tabs. Now, this looks slightly different because in the matte view here, what we have is we have interest, declarations of interest we're looking at here, but we're looking at a high level overview across the organisation. So you can see all of these accounts are part of Birds Academies Trust. We've got the trust board itself, we've got trainers, we've got a nursery account, a couple of academy accounts. And you can see at a glance compliance for declarations of interest. So this is looking very good. Owlet Nursery is 100% compliant. And that's partly because it's only got 2 people on there. So both of the people on this particular nursery board have done their declarations of interest this year. Happy days. However, if we're looking at the trust board itself, you'll see immediately at a glance, you can see there's something here which needs to be chased up. 88% of members have done this. And if you hover over that, 7 out of 8 members have confirmed their declarations this academic year. So if we click through here, yes, there's someone who's going to need a little nudge to remind them to get that done. And again, it works in the same way as doing this for a school. We have the send reminder button. So don't forget, we're in the trust overview. We're looking at the trust resources on the interests area. And we've got that overview across the trust. This is looking specifically at the trust board itself, and we can send that reminder out on the notice board of that account for that one person. Hopefully that makes sense, works in the same way. But it does give you a nice overview. Now, obviously, if you've got a lot of schools, some trusts now are very large indeed, so you may wish to search for a school rather than scrolling down through the list. That function is available there. Right, next door to that is the confirmations tab, where this is working in the same way. We saw how to set up confirmations, custom confirmations on an individual school board on the compliance tab. This confirmations tab will set up confirmations across your organisation. So again, if you're working in a trust with 30 schools, this may be a bit of a time saver because this will add them to all 30 schools at the same time. And you can see here, we've already got one. We've actually got the Trust Code of Conduct here. And this is the Code of Conduct article, and that will appear for every member in every school. So thinking back to this here, where we had the trust board, the training account, the nurseries, the academies, this confirmation will already be appearing for all of those members on all of those accounts. But if you do need to set one up, this is how you do it. It works in the same way as we did for an individual school. Add a new confirmation for all boards this time. And again, it's the same thing. The confirmation statement can't be edited once it's set live. So careful with the wording there. And then you can put your blurb and link to a document or whatever from there. And then once you've set that live, that's going to go across all of the accounts at the same time. Okay, so hopefully that is a helpful feature. And getting that high-level overview of interests for trusts and setting confirmations live for everyone can be done at the trust level. And don't forget, if you are working at a trust level as a governance professional, again, those downloads are available for the trust from the trust board page. Okay. I think that may well be it. Let me just check my list of features. View reminders. Yes, profile. Excellent. I will just mention, if you are an administrator on a GovernorHub account, it is possible to make confirmations on behalf of other people, as far as I remember. But obviously it's preferable if they do it themselves. But in exceptional circumstances, administrators can go in and make a confirmation or a declaration, sign that off using the confirm button, but it will be recorded in that person's name, i.e. the administrator's name, not the governor or trustee's name. So it's very clear exactly what's happened there. Okay, there's no ambiguity. Either the governor or trustee signs it off themselves, or an administrator has done that on their behalf, and that's what will show up in the report. In terms of that, we do get that question occasionally. People are unable to log in for whatever reason. Right, I think we're there. Just having a quick look at the chat, having a look at the Q&A. That's all looking good. If we've not answered your question, we'll do our best to have a look at that after the session and get those out, send that out with the recording, which will be coming out shortly after the session as well. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, everyone. I hope that's been a useful whiz through declarations and confirmations and how to make sure you're all compliant. As ever, the site is always developing. We really love hearing your suggestions. If there's something that's going to make your life easier in terms of being a governor or an administrator, do let us know. Our email is support@governorhub.com, and you can get in touch with us anytime. Or you can always use the blue chat button at the bottom right of Governor Hub and give us a message on there. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. And happy Governor Hubbing. There is a short survey link at the end of this, so we'd be very grateful for a bit of feedback. If you do have a moment to fill it in, it'd be much appreciated. Steer us on the right track for the next session. All right, thanks for your time, everyone. Take care.